Welcome, everyone, to the Dianne Ojar Show. And it's my pleasure again, as always, to have these amazing guests. But first, I want to say thank you all for joining us. Check us on the replay, add your comments, ask us a question, ask Catherine a question. And I want to thank you again for all the support that you've been giving us. And this is a time of the week where I really have so much fun doing all these shows with you and my guests. So first, help me welcome Catherine McKail. Welcome, Catherine.
Good day. Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Again,
Excited.
again, Catherine has been on many shows because we have so much to talk about. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Catherine? Because today we're
Well,
going to be talking about women in leadership, the
mm,
leadership role. So who's Catherine?
as a woman in leadership, have held many hats and able to counsel women in areas of marital situations or as a mother, as a minister, whatever situation you've been in as a community leader, where job developments and areas like that. Um, this is what I do. These are some of the hats that I wear. But um, we stand strong as women in this time, and we see women are rising in this time more than ever. We're taking our place in society and showing that we are not just for the kitchen, but there are far more things that we are able to do in such a time like this.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that. And those who are watching us, for who don't know me, my name is Dianne Ojar. I am the founder of the Entrepreneurs Network, as well as I have wear many hats like Catherine, the presidency of Olive Media Network, the experiential coach, radio, TV host, author, and many more hats. Of course, the founder of the Elephant in the Room. How could I forget the Elephant in the Room? And we're working on igniting your business using soul marketing, which is super powerful. So catch us, join us, ask us questions if you choose to wish. We welcome them. So Catherine, why don't we start about talking about women in leadership? You've been around for quite some time in that role, and you've talked all over the world as a leader and a woman a leader in the church. We're not here to talk about religion. We're here to talk about leadership, talking about women in power and women empowerment. Now, I don't ever dismiss the men when I'm talking about women, but again, women has their place and men have their place, but there's also a rise of women in power. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, right here in Canada, there's a lot of women that have gone through many situations because we're such a multi-facet country. We have so many different cultures. So different cultures that are trying to emerge in the North American society, that they come with their own cultural barriers and trying to transform in such a time as this to align themselves with this North American type of way of doing things. And we're seeing that there has been a lot of struggle and what we are not supposed to be doing as women and what we are to be doing because of cultures. But we see that women are crossing over barriers. They're crossing over boundaries and learning and experiencing and allowing their full potential to come forward. And as they allow their full potential to come forward, we see that women are being transformed. That metamorphosis that they go through, they're learning how to fly. And this is why in society today, we are seeing so much women taking extreme roles in society. And not about women trying to be like men or align themselves with men. They're experiencing all that they are and bringing it in the forefront. And that's exactly what's happening. We see so many women presidents, prime ministers now around the world, and it's amazing to see the amount of things that they're taking on within themselves, and they're actually making a big difference in the world today. So I think that those that are ready for the challenge, rise up and take the challenge and see what you can do. you know.
One of the things that just crossed my mind is the fact that, the suits are not no longer for men. The women rock it. And I
Amen.
mean, they do rock it. And here's the funny thing, men, it's a typical suit, but the women, it's so stylish in the boardroom,
Mhm.
and they have a voice, and believe me, they have an opinion and they share it. They
Mhm.
literally share it, and they're heard for those who are really rocking it. And because the CEOs, the female CEOs are rising, it actually puts us in a really good position for those who are up and coming, because they really are some great role models
Yes. Yes.
for the men, the boys and the girls.
Mhm.
If men really, because women, as you know, we're very nurturing,
Mhm.
and we bring that extra special spice to the mix. Whereas men lack that. So, men, we're here to say we're not here to, bash you, we're against you, we love you, we appreciate what you are. But you need to tone it down a little bit and put a little bit, sometimes, a flavor inside of it somewhere, because we all have to connect. Men and again, women tend to be a little bit more outgoing and reach out more than the men do, the women.
Mhm.
So, what are your thoughts about rocking the suit in that boardroom?
Well,
Yes.
I think the suit is one thing; is what it contains. The suit is just a container that it carries. But when we look at women in the depth of what women are coming out with, um, women, and especially the younger generation today, they're not looking at making babies and then they're allowing their career, their what they come out in this world to do. They are rising, and then they're deciding whether to have families and be that woman in the house and having the babies and whatever. They're allowing their career to rise to a place. And I think because a woman can do multitask, and we have the insight and the ingenuity of how to separate certain things, categorize certain things, and still establish who we are and what we are called to do, I think is wonderful. And I'm seeing the entrepreneurship of even young women. We're seeing young girls that are taking on little tasks. They may start out with a lemonade stand, but then we see that they will run a big CEO company. The lemonade stand was the transition that they used to take them where they wanted to go. And sometimes as mothers, we do see what our little girls have to carry, and what we have to do is steer them and gear them into that direction. So I think being that kind of a CEO, kind of woman that is leading a company and leading men and leading boys and leading young women, it's not about power and look at me and look how my rocking it, but just finding that great big expansion that is within you, without limits, without borders, without boundaries, and to know that you can do it. And if you can do it, anybody can do it. And again, it goes even for the young boys. If this woman can do it, with challenges, some have speech barriers, some has language barriers, some has disabilities, but they're doing a great job, then why not? So I think this is what we need to be really doing at this point, is really showing who we are without limits.
Yes, well, we are going to rock that boardroom in these suits. Let me tell you this, because there is, and people tend to watch women more who is in leadership roles. So you have to look at, because it also builds a confidence, and the fact that when you look at them, if you notice, I don't know if you noticed that a lot of women being highlighted and featured now as well in a lot of magazines, documentaries, and so forth. And it's an example, like you said, for us to be a role model outside there now and be a mentor, whether you're within reach or not within reach. It's just the way you position yourself, promote yourself, the way the articles are written about you makes a big difference. And there are many people saying, I want to be that. And you're right, it starts from a lemonade stand. So we as parents have to make sure, let our children rise. And don't get me wrong, the boys as well. Let them sow, let them be, but let them know when they're getting into this role, there's, it's not a ride. It's a lot of work that you have to put into that as well. But if you
Mhm.
start from young, I mean, who wouldn't support a lemonade stand for goodness sake, right? Looking at that. But you're absolutely right. It starts now because the
Mhm.
world is changing.
Mhm.
And we have very young, very successful CEOs that 17, 18 that we don't talk about.
Mhm.
But there's a
Mhm.
whole generation out there that are
Mhm.
just making it and just really, really, really crushing it. So we applaud all of them. We congratulate all of them. And there's really a whole network out there of young men and women who are really doing a phenomenal job. You just don't hear much about them, but they own their own space and they're very intelligent. What
Well,
is some?
something, no,
Go ahead.
sorry, something that we never used to see before, women running in certain political arenas,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, that's increasing as well.
Yes, one of the things that women has taken back their power in the sense of tired of being that sex object. So they use a woman for a cover of a magazine, and just showing her beauty or her swimsuit, her body shape, or whatever. But what has been the cry and the scream that has been sounding out is that you know I want you to see my mind and my potential and my the force that I really am, rather than the sex object that you make me to be.
Hmm.
So this is
Hmm.
why you see women that are rising and women are taking their place and taking their positions and saying, I can be this just as what the man. It's not about women's lib. We're not here dealing with that. But we're talking about I can do just as what this man can do, and sometimes do it better, because as a mother or a woman who has nurturing abilities within her, she may be able to resolve situations in probably in war zones in different area, deal with it in a different way than a man would, because they could only see so far, because they're not using that ability that is within them to really resolve a problem, where a woman will use every force that they have within themselves and create solutions that can solve big problems. So that's why
Hmm.
it's wonderful to see women rising.
Do you find that women has to be a little bit more academia, more therefore qualifications or accolades or letters behind their name in order to rise to the top as opposed to men?
Well, yeah, because again, we still have to prove ourselves, right? We still want, and this is why women are still fighting for equal wages. Same job, getting less than whatever percentage, less than what the man is making. Um, so you would find, yeah, they have to show all their accolades. They have to show all what they have gone through in terms of study, where men may not. So I think that's one of the serious problem that society has with women rising to the thing, because they spend that time studying and trying to overcome these obstacles that are there that will try to prevent them from taking certain roles.
What are some of the challenges you ran into in your industry? I know you
Well,
went through a lot. I mean, things have changed now, or changing, hopefully, as well. But you went through a lot as well when you.
Well, again, in traveling, as a woman minister, I find that back in 10, 15 years ago, it was unheard of women leading a church, or women, going and speak as a main speaker. Pardon me. And because of that, we find that we have had challenges, but, always overcome it, because I am not coming as a gender. I'm
Mhm.
coming with the message. I am just the
Right.
messenger. So whatever container that is being used to bring the message is what I come to give. So if you want to deal with it and afterwards deal with it, but right now I am the container that is being used, and I don't allow that to hinder my message that I'm bringing forward, or even try to prove something, because the time you and try to want to prove something to a man or to whatever society, you will always lose. But if you just do what all and don't even worry about what is being said, then you overcome a lot of challenges. And I don't allow these things, because I just look at them as obstacles that is trying to stop me from jumping that hurdle, and just press forward, push forward, in everything in life. We have to push forward. Once you know that you have a direction and you have a focus, you just move towards that target, and don't let anything on the left, on the right, to try to stop you from getting there.
But was there a time when you actually felt that yes, you the
At the
being
beginning,
trying to
at the
pull
beginning,
that?
yes. And you say 20 years ago at the beginning. But for me, I always know that I had a strong force inside of me, and I know once I open my mouth, then everything floods out, and I silence the fear when I open my mouth, and I realize that, when fear becomes my footstool, I find that that force that I run with changes the atmosphere and changes everything around me. But it's just to get that fear and put it under your feet is a hard move. But once you know what you're doing, you get over. But at the beginning, I didn't have all that power that I have now, and now it's unstoppable.
Yeah,
You can't
you're
stop me.
unstoppable. All right. When you talk about power, it's about building that confidence and self-esteem. So when you think about it now, I know you've gone through a lot of transformation as well, and it's really working on yourself. You don't I mean, most people expect everything to be given to them, and that's not the case most of the time. And I mean, if you're given something and you don't know what to do with it, that's a whole nother story,
Mhm.
right? You're picking a car, you know how to drive the car. Well, what you going to do, right? So the
Exactly.
fact is, how much do you believe that working on oneself is at the top of the list? That's where it really starts. How do you believe, or what do you believe in that?
I think experience is your stepping stone. What we go through in life creates stones in our life that we
Mhm.
start to climb. One of the basic things, there is nothing done to us. There's always something done for us. So every
Mhm.
challenge we go through in life, whether it be in a gender wise, whether it be education wise, whatever challenge we go through in life are stones that you start plotting them one on top of the other. It gives you stepping stones to get where you're really going. So we don't allow these things now to block us from getting where we need to go. What we need to do is use it as our experience. And as we experience difficulties, failures, we get back up, we shake it off, we move on again. But we're learning. We're learning. Life is a school. Every day you get up, you come to school. And we learn from the school of life the things that we go through. At the end of the day, we have learned quite a few lessons if we reflect back on our day. So when we understand, not just as a woman, but as a person, we build on the schools of life, the lessons that we have learned. But if we have a picture in front of us of where, at the end of that school, where we intend to go and what we tend to, like, Rocky had, he ran up that big, all that building to the building, and then to raise his hand and jump and said, like, I achieved it. That's what all of us are trying to attain. We have something that we're running towards. But again, In the school of life, we get lessons, we follow those lessons, and we learn from it. And at the end of it, we will get the reward that we're really looking for. So we're learning every time, every morning, every day, every moment. There's a learning, and transformation comes by every lesson that we have learned. Every squeeze that we go through. And this morning, in one of my teachings to the class, I was saying that a caterpillar going through that metamorphosis, that squeezing, that pressing, the things that is squeezed out of him, he will not be able to accomplish what he have accomplished to come out as a beautiful butterfly and fly unless he was squeezed, he was pressed to that point where everything that was good and bad that squeezed out of him came out and presented a beautiful creature at the end of it. And that's what all of us go through in that metamorphosis area in our life.
Absolutely. And becoming a CEO or leader or influencer, mentor, it's a privilege. It's a very high status position because you're influencing others. And it's a really nice feeling when you can have others who is looking up to you, not in a egotistical way, but the fact that you know that your work, the things you've worked so hard for, that you can pass it on. You know, some people do it all the time, some people do it occasionally. So we applaud everyone who steps into that role because it is time consuming. Believe me, it's time consuming, but it's needed. It's needed. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the young people. There are other people, different age groups are looking for mentors, people, newcomers, at all different age groups. So we ask those, all of the CEOs and mentors out there, influencers, please do reach out and share some time with some of these amazing people who are looking to model, to learn the skills that's needed, because being an entrepreneur is one thing, being a CEO is a whole nother story, and so forth. So we welcome everyone to step into that role. Try it. It's fulfilling. It's challenging. I'm not going to lie. It's challenging, but it's fulfilling as well.
Well, one of the other thing though, as being a CEO, and you have those that are looking up to you, it makes you accountable. I
Yes.
think what it's not about the stature, it's not about having that title, but it's to be accountable to someone else. And I think it's very important as we rise to the ladder, and as we rise to see to get where we're going, there's still somebody is looking at every step that we take. You know, it is talk about there's people reading our books, and I'm not talking about the pages, but you are being read of men, you're being read by everything that you do, your movement, the dress, your attitude, your conduct, all the things that you do, you're being read of men. And the young people or those that you're mentoring is looking at you, and it makes you accountable. It puts you in that place where you are checked every time. It makes you in that place you are careful in what you say, what you do, what things you show the world, because you can't be one thing here and something else somewhere else, because there's always somebody watching, whether it's on camera, whether it's an individual, whether it's a janitor, whoever it is, there's always somebody watching. So I like in that point, it makes you accountable for your character and what you say that you are, that is aligning to who you really are. And that's what I think, being in that position where it holds you high, but it holds you very much accountable.
Absolutely. And again, when we talk about it's not just putting a title behind your name. You have to really live it. And I'm going to say
Okay.
this word. My new favorite word is being sexy. You have to be a sexy CEO or influencer. What does that mean? We're not talking about the word itself. We're talking about you doing the best job you possibly can, where it attracts people, and you're doing and say, oh my gosh, Catherine, you did an amazing job. Your website is phenomenal, it's sexy, it's attractive, the work that you do. And you will know when you're being recognized. Recently I've been asked to write in a lot of magazines, a lot of articles, more than I normally would. And I'm being featured in a magazine. I just recently was a surprise on the cover. Now, being on that cover, it's a magazine I've known for a long time. Being on a cover, it's not mainstream. But I'll tell you one thing, it doesn't matter when you're on the cover of a magazine that we're talking about entrepreneurs and CEOs, you better live up to that title. And yes, it does put you in a position whereby you're thinking, oh my goodness, everybody's going to know who you are now. So everybody's really going to be watching. And actually, I got an email from LinkedIn saying, because it was actually promoted on LinkedIn as well, saying that, so many people are watching you because this was posted. So there are a lot of eyes on you. So yes, you want to do, you got to do what you got to do, and you want to do it, you do it with 100% of everything that you have. There's no question about that. What do you believe the media on a whole, holistically, whether we're talking movies or documentaries or series, actually highlighting the women in that position, in those positions? Are they doing a good job? Can they do a better job? You see there's an improvement. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the media sometimes make women a lot more accountable for their dress code, what message they're sending to the young girls, especially those that are looking up to them, um, how free they really are. Certain little things that I think the media becomes a little more harder and for women than they would men, because because he's a man, because he can do that and whatever. But a woman now, you're supposed to be a mother figure, and you're supposed to be that mentor that's showing the right thing. And in a way, for me, I think that it shouldn't be any standard in terms of whether male or female. All who are in the public eye should be accountable for everything that they do, you know, because there's always these influences that you are setting a pattern. You're setting a dress code, you're setting a trend, and usually these younger folks are using these trend of, okay, somebody wore tore up jeans, oh well, we're going to follow that, that's going to be our trend for the summer, and purple hair, green, all that's going to be our trend, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when it starts to go with the drugs and the this and the that, things like that, that's where it becomes dangerous, because then we have younger generations, the 8, the 9, the 10-year-old are also looking and want to follow that pattern. And then the parents may not allow them, and then say, but this one does it. And then, and we see it on the TV, and you allow us to see it, and we allow us to go to concerts and things like that. This is where the problem comes, and the parents have to fight with those kind of people in the home. So I think the media have to be very careful in what they allow as acceptable and what is not. I think it should hold those that are leadership accountable of what they're doing, and make them remember there are younger kids that are looking at you guys, and what is the message. And I think that is a question should be asked by all the media every time. What is the message that you wanting to send to this generation, to these younger folks, and make them and hold them accountable. And the more airtime you give these people that are doing wrong, I think you are enabling them to continue and bring more destruction. But if they get less camera time, they would make change. I believe all my heart. So it's not the more wrong that you, the more airtime you get, and the good that you do, they don't even, the media try to sell news. But at the same time, you are also accountable to what you are sending out there in the airwaves for the younger generation as well.
Yeah, well, thank you so much because we have many that's known publicly and they've earned their rights. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of them like ourselves. So pretty much it's our job, like what we're doing here right now, is to highlight those and say, hey, you're doing a great job, and that's a support that we have in our community. What would you say as we're wrapping up here? What would you like to see? What change would you like to see?
I would say a lot more. We would say that there's a lot of program for women. There's a lot of programs out there, women, 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 and there's not enough programs for men. But my thing is the quality of programs there is for women, especially the minorities, especially those that have disability in terms of learning disability. I think a lot of the caring, a lot of the training, a lot of the confidence building for those kids that might have Down syndrome or have, they have the ability of a CEO qualification. It's just that there's not someone there to nurture and develop that gift, and we don't trust the abilities that they have. And I am there to prove that these young women that are there, that have that same ability as one that we will call normal. And I always have that challenge: what is normal? What does really normal look like? Is it something that we think everybody's doing the same and we call that normal? Or is what they're doing, what ability they have, that can challenge us to grow? And I think that I would like to see a lot more programs for these young girls that have these challenges, to get more training, get more programs for them, that they're able to really bring out their full potential. And that's what I would take from it in terms of seeing women be empowered. Those young girls are women as well, whether minority, whether, wherever they're coming from, but they need somebody to have a little patience and take time and then show them how to spread their wings. And that's what I will take from this today.
What is your contact information? I know they're seeing you there, but why don't you mention where you can be
um,
reached?
yes, so I am a counselor. I do counseling as well. I am a minister, a teacher, mentor. And my contact number is information is ddwcc@yahoo.com. Any questions, any information, any way that you programs that we have going on that you would like to be interested in, again, contact me at ddwcc@yahoo.com.
Thank you so much, Catherine. And for those who, and that's my contact information, they're info at theexperientialcoach.com. I want to say today, when we talk about CEOs, there's CEOs on different levels. We have executive CEOs, we have CEOs for founders of, I know, excuse me, non for profit, like you are. We have CEOs of the lemonade stand. We have
Mhm.
CEOs. It just means a chief executive officer. Basically, what it means is that you're the decision maker. And if you're decision maker on something, a project, you can be a CEO of a project because you're
Mhm.
decision with the team. So when we talk about the woman in leadership, if you want to be a woman in leadership, or anyone in leadership, you have to step up and tell people that you want to lead something. If you don't tell people you want to lead something or I want to take responsibility, whether it be a project manager or to that effect, then nobody would know. So then you can't complain that nobody is looking at me if nobody knows what you're doing.
Mhm.
And one of the ways that you need to find an avenue, a space, is to get visibility.
Mhm.
Reach out to people who are doing like this, and shows like this or podcasts, and because I have this thing about the word podcast, or magazines, or write articles or blogs and so forth, and reach out and start sharing your craft, start sharing your voice. That's where people are going to start recognizing you. Write a book. We've all done that. I will tell you something that this book was the beginning of, I can't even begin to explain. This is why we're sitting here. This book is actually about 10 years old. And I say this, but it never gets old. And because of this book is why we're here today, why I have gone through all those different projects and challenges. There have been challenges, don't get me wrong. And, the leadership role, the mentorship role, it was because of that book. That book is a business card. So you create a business card for yourself. It could be, yes, we do have physical business cards. I have one here somewhere. We do have physical business cards. I agree. This is a business card for the book. Okay. But this is a card. We want something a little bit more tangible where people can hear your voice and listen to what you're saying. So create that medium, create that forum, create that project, and reach out to, for example, Catherine, myself, and say, hey guys, I am doing this project. Either how can I help? How can you help me? How can I help you? What do I need? What can you offer? You know, ask questions, ask mentee questions, ask questions, and just do something. Just don't sit there and expect somebody to come and find you. They're not going to find you until you step up in this. I know Catherine has been on a couple of our shows and other shows as well. She also had shows on the main media as well. And
Mhm.
what, yeah. So the main media, most people wouldn't know who Rogers is because this is a national global, but in main media. And the thing about it is that she had to step up. She had to introduce a project. You had to speak to them and say, this is a project I have. The same thing we have with our radio shows and other shows that we have. You have to let people know what you're doing. So I want to say to you, if it's your responsibility, like Catherine said, you have to hold yourself accountable for whatever your future is, whatever you want to go, whatever you want to do. Don't expect someone to come and knock on your door saying, hey guys, I have a project for you, if nobody knows what you're doing. But you'll be very surprised how that you can learn from there, and then it could actually lead you into maybe registering your own company, becoming the CEO of your own company. You share skills. We're coaches, we're consultants, we're engineers. By the way, did you know that engineers who have their own business? Because it's called a consultant. They do consulting. So don't think that you cannot do something. Step up, talk. But first, I would like you to stop, think, plan before you take action. Because make sure that if you're going to open your mouth, you have something that's worth. Now, I'm not saying every project you're going to introduce is going to be the one, but the point is, at least you're stepping up. If any of that resonates with you, you know, awesome. Catherine, thank you so much for being with us. That's Catherine McKail. And for myself, Dianne, there's so many, questions, and there's so many answers we have for those questions in regard of our experience, what we've gone through, what we're going through. And we want to take this ride with you. We want to walk this walk with you. And we're always here to be a mentor. We're also mentees as well. We're always a student and we're always a teacher at
That's
the
right.
same time. There's no question about that. So don't think because we are the CEOs, that's it. Oh no, 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 it doesn't work that way. Definitely so. We will constantly be learning, and we'll always be teaching at the same time. So on that note, I want to say thank you each or every one of you. Catch us on the replay, share it, leave your comments. And I want to thank you so much for joining us in the Dianne Show. And thank you so much, Catherine, again, for being here and talking about women in leadership. And that's such a wide topic. And as everybody will have a different opinion about it. And that's why we need to talk about it. And also for you, if you have an angle or perspective or some comments or something that you're not happy with, or we would like to hear from you so we can address that and have conversations about that as well. So I want to say again, thank you all so much for joining us. And it's always a pleasure. And Catherine, it's always a pleasure to be with you. And we have always so much to talk about. You really do wear a lot of hats like I do. So thank you all so much. And on that note, this is Dianne and Catherine saying, enjoy the show and have a fabulous day.